and Johannes thinking? Once upon a time, there was a park keeper whose job was to pick up litter with a spiked pole. Surrounded by the glorious beauty of flowers and trees with the sun sparkling through the leaves, he only had eyes for the garbage that he had to collect and all the damage that it did. The park keeper could only see the bad. He was blind to the beauty. I can't think of anything else worse in life than being blind to the beauty that's right in front of you. And there's no story that depicts it more clearly for me. We're leaving Matthew, we're going to go to Luke and hear the prodigal son. Hear this story again. Once there was a man who had 2 sons. You know this story. One day the younger son goes to his father and says, "Father, how do I say this? But, okay, eventually you're going to die. Rather than waiting, if it's all the same to you, I want you to give me your share of the my share of the inheritance now." Bewildered and a little hurt, the father still liquidates assets and divides them accordingly. So this younger son gathers all his wealth and sets off on a journey to a distant land. Once there, he wastes everything on what Scripture calls wild living. My granddad would say worldly. Then a terrible famine strikes and the boy is forced to come home. So he gets up and he returns to his father. The father looks off into the distance and he sees the boy coming home. He feels compassion for his son. He runs to meet him. He hugs them and he greets him with a kiss. The son pleads for forgiveness, and the compassionate father turns to his servants and he says, "Quick, bring the best robe. We'll have to put it on him. Put on the ring on his finger and shoes on his feet. Get the fattest calf and butcher it. Let's all have a feast." Now the oldest son, he was in the fields. He comes in at the end of the day and he stumbles into all this feasting and all this dancing, frustrated that he can't remember the cause of the celebration, or that why would they even be having this moment? And why wouldn't they wait on me? And he grabs a servant and he says, "What is all this?" And the servant replies, "Your brother has come home." But filled with rage, the oldest son refuses to come inside. Yet the father sees this tantrum happening through the Palestinian doors, and he goes out to meet him, pleading for the oldest son to reconsider. "Come inside." But the boy replies, "Listen, all these years I've worked for you. I've never disobeyed you. I didn't want you to die, not once. But that son of yours in there squanders a third of your estate, and you do this for him?" And the father replies, "My son, you are always with me. All I have is yours. Isn't it right to join in the celebration and be happy? This is your brother we're talking about. He was dead, and now he's alive. He was lost, but now he's found." Then the story ends. Do you see the tension with the oldest brother? When we move into the life and psyche of this oldest son, do you feel the resentment that he carries? It's almost hard to bear. It's coming on so thick. I mean, what kind of brother is this? How self-righteous and how pretentious do you have to be to not see that your younger brother has come home? This is a big deal. And I'm sure you know people like this. The older brother is so concerned about why his own father would butcher the fattened calf on someone else's behalf. So concerned about the nature of the party that he can't even go inside. He can't even celebrate. I mean, he's been the one that's slaving in the fields. He's been the one that's been remaining dutiful and obedient. Where's his party? Where's his fattened calf? Where's his robe? Where's his ring? He's blind to the beauty. And you know people like this. These are the people who turn everything around back on them. They're the one-up people who one-up every story. They misconstrue details to make them look better. They only tell stories in which they're the hero. You know people like this. Yet there's always something wrong with these people. They're like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. They constantly complain and nag and bicker and judge, always self-loathing, always jealous. And it's as if every time you talk to them, they are forming in a not so subtle way a bedrock of resentment. Enlaced in every phrase, you can hear them saying, I didn't get what I was due. Or better yet, what about me? These people can't see the beauty that's right in front of them. And you know these people. These are the ones who don't really come to church. They never really join in the celebration, who always sit on the sidelines. They're always saying, woe is me. I used to hate these people until I realized recently that I'm one of them. I grew up the youngest of two highly successful brothers. My oldest is the jack-of-all-trades kind of guy. He's been a successful sports agent, coach, missionary, entrepreneur, and now father. Now he's a student minister at a prominent Baptist church in a prominent city. My other brother he's slightly less ambitious than my oldest brother. Well, that is since he got released 4 seasons ago from being a Baltimore Oriole. Now he's a general contractor and owns his own small business and also is a wonderful father. Both highly successful. Both highly favored. So I lived the majority of my childhood trying not to mess up, or better yet, just trying to play catch up. Trying to show that I too can hold my own, impress, and belong. And it's strange to see that but deep in my heart, over time, this effort to impress, it turns into disdain. I tried everything to gain my parents' blessing, but nothing seemed to be coming to me what I saw my brothers getting from them. It didn't take me long, when lost in this mindset of disdain, to build a callus of self-pity and resentment around my heart. I'll never forget the dinner we had to celebrate my graduation of college. We watched my brother pitch on ESPN. We didn't even have a cake. And I bet you know exactly what I mean. We live in a world where jealousy, resentment, and a great deal of fear are realized. We mask it so a world can't see it, but in the darkest corners of our heart, it eats at our soul. And we cope just like the oldest brother does in the parable of the prodigal son. We place people outside the realm of our mercy. You know, maybe this older brother in the parable is hard to be around, but he's pretty easy to identify with. He's hurt. He's in a dark place. He's blind to the beauty that's right in front of him. I know as a church, we fall into this world too. We say we're saved. We say we celebrate. We say we partner with God in the ongoing creation of the world. But when we've been at this for about 18 years and we're dying. Our church is small. We can't even make budget. We say we're connected to God, but I fear we've become the older brother who in the exact same room as the father still feels disconnected to the divine. Just go to a mainline Protestant church and worship and feel if you feel connected to the divine. We're in the same room as the Father, but we are as distant from God as we've ever been. The pain of not feeling like I ever got my parents' blessing is the pain that keeps me from wanting to go inside to the party. The pain we feel of having a $500,000 building loan, or ministers that aren't very good, or they split the church, or ministers who never look at the community to do any missional activities, or maybe just a community in general that seems to overlook us. The pain keeps us from partnering with God in the ongoing creation of the world, and I get that. We become tribal and introspective as a community of grace, scared to trust, scared to party, and for good reason. Because for a long time as a community, we did care, we did try, we did put in our best effort. We worked as hard as the older son worked in the parable. We labored for the kingdom, but we never got the party that we deserved. We never got the membership we were due. We never got loved or blessed. About 6 months ago, I asked a friend of mine to go out and grab a burger and watch the Braves play because we live in Atlanta and there's only one Braves. There's only one baseball team. But he replied that he didn't have the time No big deal. I called someone else who ended up inviting me to come over to his house to watch the game. But when I get there, the first friend that I had called who didn't have time for me was sitting on the couch. Then he had the gall to tell me, "Welcome, buddy. It's good to see you." What? My anger was so great for not being told about this party. I couldn't stay. All the inner complaints about not being accepted and liked, they just surged in me. I was completely incapacitated. And in an instant, the joy in that room became a source of resentment for me. And at that moment, I realized I was as lost as I had ever been. When you get lost in the land of anger, resentment, and jealousy, you can't work yourself back. You're lost, and you're gone until a shepherd comes and finds you and brings you home. So trust. Trust that God is actually looking for you too. Trust that God will go anywhere to find you. And trust that God tells you what the Father tells this oldest son. All I have is yours. This party is for you too. For blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy.